Oh, we can do better than that. How are we doing? All right. My name is Justin Strong. I'm joined by Lawrence Pitt, Andy Philp, and shortly by Chris Cassessa. We're here to talk to you about ZENworks and give you a little sneak peek of what's going on. So Lawrence, in the last year, we did some big stuff with ZENworks. We made a big play to unify endpoint management. We gave everyone the ability to roll out the capabilities of asset management, patch management, configuration management, and also security using a common console, common agent, common server. One set of tools for the enterprise to use to manage all of endpoint. But is it enough? And what are we doing next with respect to endpoint?
Okay, so thanks, Justin. So next we have ZENworks 11, Support Pack 2, which is due out just in a couple of months. And with this release of the product, we will extend the capabilities that we have today. So where with ZENworks 11, you can now not only control the configuration of a device, but you can also protect the configuration, protect the assets that you have. With Support Pack 2, we'll be introducing full disk encryption into that story as well. So now we can actually protect the data on that device, both whilst it's in use or from preventing other people from being able to access it. And that's what we're going to take you through in today's keynote. So I'm going to hand over to Andy here, who's going to run the demo for us.
Okay, thanks, Lawrence. So right here's your laptop. And Lawrence is a bit of a road warrior, so we need to make sure his data is secure. So as with everything with ZENworks we do, we drive configuration and change through policy enforcement. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the ZENworks full disk encryption policy that we've set up, and I'm just going to set it against your managed device. So let's find you. There you are. So once I've clicked OK, if you could do a refresh for ZENworks, and then if you reboot the device, that's going to kick off the process.
Okay, so the refresh is just completed. I will now do a restart on my workstation. So this is obviously going to take a couple of moments to happen. So would you like to just take us through the policy and what I'm going to expect to see when my machine comes up?
Yeah, sure. So in this process, we're going to do three things. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create a pre-boot authentication partition on his hard drive. Eventually, when this process finishes, we'll be forcing that to boot first and stopping Lawrence from booting the operating system unless he gives us credentials. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to encrypt his hard drive. And then finally, this is the really cool bit, we're going to get your credentials, your identity, and we're going to tie it to this device. The net result will be only Lawrence will be able to boot this device, and when he boots, his drive will be secure.
So, I mean, how does the policy look to do this?
So I'm going to take you through the policy. So in terms of encryption, we've chosen for this demo to only encrypt the D drive. Now, there's no reason why we can't encrypt all the partitions, but in your case, all the sensitive materials, all the personal files are being redirected to your D drive. But the important thing to notice on this screen is that we're only going to encrypt the files that are being used. Now, this is really important these days because you could have a terabyte drive in your laptop. But if we can just focus on those 1 or 2 gigs of data that you're using, we can get encryption and security up much, much quicker.
So I'm just going to log in here.
Yeah, in terms of pre-boot authentication, when this process finishes, we're going to boot into a pre-OS environment, and Lawrence is going to have to authenticate. But right now, based on the policy, we said that only the help desk user can do this. So the next stage, we need to capture his credentials. And this is what's happening right now. So by capturing the user credentials, when we next reboot, only you will be able to access this device.
Right, so what you're telling me is at the moment, the data on my device is now encrypted, being encrypted. Can I see that?
So pretty much, the pre-boot authentication environment set up, your drive is encrypting right now.
Right, can you show me?
Yes, if you go into the ZENworks icon.
Okay, the properties.
If we're quick enough, we should be able to see the drive encrypting.
Have a look here.
Okay,
so it's actually finished, so that's really quick.
Yeah.
So I guess the next thing to that is, I've seen that my data's encrypted, and what you've said to me is that when I reboot this machine, I will be the only person who can access the operating system here. Exactly. So again, can we show that quickly?
Yeah, just go ahead and reboot your device.
Okay, so let's do another reboot here.
So while Lawrence does that, I just want to reiterate what we've done. We associated one policy to his device, and automatically we've created a pre-boot environment, which you're going to see soon. We've encrypted his hard disk, and we've tied this device just to Lawrence's identity. We did that with one association. It was automated. And the key thing is, Lawrence did not have to come into the office and give me the laptop. This was all done remotely.
Okay, right. So the machine's rebooted here. I guess it's putting the pre-boot into place. And now I'm seeing my user login. So I just use my normal...
Yep, your password that you use to access Windows.
Hold on a sec. Sorry. Okay, so what if when you were stood in front of 1,700 people, you forgot your password? How would you get me past that without it looking bad?
In 5 minutes, really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess when you get to the upper echelons of upper management like you, remembering a 6-character password kind of maybe a bit difficult, but this is a real problem, right? So at this stage, he can't even boot the OS, right? He can't do anything. We've secured his device. So how can we fix this? So if you come out of this, ZENworks is going to provide an offline help desk system. If you go into the help desk icon here, as an administrator, we have a way to override the pre-boot authentication when these things happen. So in this situation, you would call the help desk, I'd pick up the phone, you click next,
Right.
and what you're going to do is we're going to go through a 2-way challenge response system. He's going to give me a code, I'm going to type it into the control center. The result being eventually is I'll generate a long code that I can read back to Lawrence over the phone so he can access his operating system.
Okay, so I read this. So 0, X-ray 160, Tango, Golf.
Look, this is really dull. This is really lame. Let's not do this. Let's try the old-fashioned way. Have you tried Novell?
You mean like Novell? I guess we could give that a shot. Just N-O-V-E-L-L. Got it. One finger typing rules.
Okay, so we're in. So what's happened now is that as Lawrence has provided his credential that matches his identity, that can be an E directory or Active Directory, the OS is now beginning to boot. And again, all of this is automated. The next thing, though, is when ZENworks continues to automate this process, you'll notice that the operating system, when Windows boots, will automatically log Lawrence in based on his identity. So whether we're using the Novell client and E directory, or whether it's direct or Active Directory, or even in a workgroup environment. So there you go. So ZENworks is automatically logging you into Workstation. But again, the automation doesn't end there. ZENworks is now going to pick up Lawrence's credential, and it's going to provide him, based on his identity, the apps and the policies he needs. So to reiterate, one authentication before the OS boots, resulting in Windows authenticating and ZENworks provisioning your user experience. All completely automated with one mouse click.
Okay, so that's great, and I like what I've seen, but remembering that I'm on the road, I'm management, I haven't got time to think about things, what you've done here is you've actually introduced something which has changed my fundamental user experience. I now have this ZENworks logon rather than the Windows logon I'm used to. Is there any way that I can just skip that or log to Windows but still be protected?
So when you've got to deal with picky users like this guy, we've introduced a new user experience, right? So up at the top of this policy here, you'll see that we have a tick box to disable pre-boot authentication, and we refer to this internally as transparent mode. And this is a key thing we do with ZENworks. One reason you want to do this is you do not want to change the user experience. In this case, the drive will still be encrypted, but will skip that pre-boot authentication stage. Another reason you'd want to do this is if you're managing devices inside the firewall and you want to power them up with ZENworks Power Management and deliver security patches with ZENworks Patch Management or software with ZENworks Configuration Management. Clearly, this won't be possible if that pre-boot environment's in the way. So yes, a tick box and OK, and that'll be fine.
Fantastic. However, all the references to me being senior managers made me think of something else here, which is that being senior management means we get to make choices sometimes. One of these choices that I've made is as I was coming up on stage, I spotted there's a MacBook Air sitting on the desk out there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sleek and nice, and I think I'm going to have that. I think that's going to be my machine moving forward. So I'm going to give you back my laptop to do what you like. However, firstly, you've told us how I'm the only person who can log into this device, and no one else can get into this except for the help desk. How easy is it, without this having to come back to the office, to allow for another user to access this device? Then the second piece to that is, how can you decommission my data from that device so that although I've given it to somebody else, they don't have access to my very important senior person data?
Sure. Thanks for the gesture. I would have preferred the Mac, but in this case, with this Dell, I can't even boot the OS, right? So in this, we have a quick task in ZENworks, which is called Enable Additive User Capturing. And this is something that happens in real time. So if you're familiar with ZENworks, in a few seconds, this would kick the process off. What this does is it instructs the pre-boot authentication environment to skip that stage on the next reboot. This will bring me to a Windows dialog. I can then authenticate with the Novell client or direct to Active Directory as me. ZENworks provisions me, my apps, my policies, but writes my credentials back to the pre-boot environment. From that point onwards, I can then use your device. And again, that's fully automated. In terms of decommissioning, we've got two options very briefly. Again, a quick task, and this is in real time. So temporarily decommissioning, this instructs the device to remove all of the user accounts from the pre-boot authentication. The net result of that is when you boot, no one can log in unless you go through the help desk function like we saw earlier, or you use an emergency recovery disk. The permanent option here is kind of a bit more drastic. We do the same thing. In a few seconds, we would shut this machine down, would overwrite all of the encrypted sectors on that disk, and this device would be a brick. It's pretty much unusable. But, you know, we're at BrainShare, we're in the Salt Palace, we're all friends. Don't think there's any reason we need to go through some kind of... Hey, Chris.
Hey, Andy.
What are you wearing?
Well, you know, you English folk and even some Americans there think that we Australians are a bunch of convicts, so I thought I'd dress appropriately. What I'm going to do, I've just, you know, in the tradition of the convict, I've just borrowed Lawrence's laptop drive here. So I've moved over to my Linux desktop here. I'm just going to plonk that drive into there. So what we should see here is a few windows should pop up. Each of one is each of the partitions on this hard disk. So as we can see here, I can see the Windows system drive and all that sort of thing. That's great. I can read the NTFS positions. I've also got the Dell recovery partition here as well. The other one that opened up is actually the pre-boot authentication partition. I also have my partition manager here. So if I just rescan the devices here, it's going to show me that I've got my external device here, as well as my system drive and my data drive. But as you saw, I just cannot see the data there. So, crikey, Lawrence, it's actually encrypted.
So that's really, really good. Thanks for that, Chris. So what we've shown you here is how with ZENworks full disk encryption, not only can we set it up from the enterprise so that I can be protected without the need to come into the office and have my machine rebuilt, even if someone like Chris was to steal my hard disk or my data, he still won't be able to get access to that sensitive information. Now, there's been a few things today we haven't had a chance to show you. So specifically, we support hardware encryption with the product. Some of the things here, just for time, we didn't have to do the reboots. If you're interested, if you go to IT Central, we'll be more than happy to take you through those. At the same time, if you see on the slide here at the back, that I can see in the front, there are some sessions. So there's 2 sessions running on Novell full disk encryption at BrainShare this week. If you go to those, you'll be able to have an in-depth run through of the product and find out exactly what it does. I see Justin's joined me on stage, my MacBook. Thank you very much, Justin.
Well, I see since you're upper management now, I heard you say you want a MacBook, so we aim to please, but I've got an idea. We've got a lot of attendees that took time to come out and visit us at BrainShare, so by round of applause, who would rather see this given away to somebody in the audience?
Hey!
Sorry, Lawrence.
I guess I lost.
So here's what we're going to do. In IT Central, you'll have the opportunity to see more about FDE and other things that we're doing in ZENworks. Please stop by and ask about how you can be eligible to win a drawing for this MacBook Air. We're going to give it away on Friday during the Friday keynote, along with some other interesting stuff we're doing with ZENworks, so we certainly want to see you there. And I think that's our time.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the keynote. Enjoy BrainShare.